On the morning of Monday, October 6, 2014, the Punjab National Bank in Gohana opened for business exactly as it should. The exterior locks were intact, the CCTV cameras were rolling, and the heavy vault door was perfectly sealed. But when the staff finally opened that door, they stepped into a war zone. The sterile strongroom had been gutted. Heavy steel doors were bent outward, locks were shattered, and the floor was covered in debris. The thieves had systematically cracked open 89 distinct lockers. In a matter of hours, an estimated 100 crore rupees in cash, family jewelry, and the life savings of local residents had vanished. The local police were faced with an immediate contradiction. Ramlal, the night guard, had been sitting nearby all weekend and heard nothing. No exterior doors were forced, and the bank's electronic alarms never made a sound. Authorities realized they weren't dealing with a traditional bank robbery. The crew hadn't touched the vault door or triggered the motion sensors. They simply approached from the one direction the bank never monitored, the ground beneath it. The mastermind behind the breach was a man named Ramesh. His strategy relied on absolute invisibility. Instead of adopting complex disguises, he and his crew posed as unremarkable laborers and rented an abandoned house just down the street. Before picking up a single shovel, Ramesh walked the town. He counted his steps from the rental house to the bank, mapped out the blind spots in the security cameras, and memorized the exact shift changes of the bank guards. He built his network with intense paranoia. The crew members were hired individually, and most never learned the true identities of the others. If one man panicked or was caught, he wouldn't have the information to expose the rest of the operation. In a small town like Gohana, a group of quiet men returning home late at night is treated as background noise. Exploiting that human tendency to ignore tired working-class neighbors provided a much thicker shield than any physical mask. The distance between their target and their rental house was exactly 125 feet, a straight, dark line through dense earth. Digging a horizontal shaft of that length presents an immediate, lethal threat of cave-ins. To avoid being buried alive beneath the streets, the crew meticulously braced the tight dirt walls, using scattered bricks and scrap wood as they crept forward. Every foot they pushed forward meant hauling hundreds of pounds of soil backward. Dumping it outside would have instantly alerted the neighborhood. Their solution was to drag the earth back up into the rental house, packing it floor to ceiling inside the empty rooms. Working in suffocating heat with little oxygen, one man would chip away at the soil while another dragged it back. They measured their progress in inches per night, maintaining this cycle for 10 continuous months. They didn't rely on specialized machinery or heavy industrial tools. Their primary weapon was a profound level of patience, slowly scraping away at the earth until they outlasted the bank's passive security. The final breach occurred on Saturday night, October 4th. Ramesh had specifically waited for a holiday weekend, guaranteeing the bank would be sealed and completely empty until Monday morning. Above ground, the security guard Ramlal sat in the quiet street, oblivious. Directly beneath his feet, the crew was using heavy tools to fracture the thick concrete floor of the strongroom from the underside. Once they breached the vault, they operated in total darkness. Relying on drills and heavy metal cutters, they rapidly snapped the dual lock mechanisms on 89 separate steel lockers. Before the sun came up on Sunday, they packed the cash and jewelry into bags, slipped back down into the hole, and vanished from Gohana without leaving a trace. 10 grueling months of silent labor in the dirt were validated by a single night of extraction. When the local police hit a dead end, federal investigators from the CBI took control. They immediately bypassed the empty bank and focused entirely on the abandoned rental house. The property was an overwhelming mess. The investigators had to wade through tons of loose dirt, discarded water bottles, and broken tools, searching the debris for a single usable clue. Buried in the grime of one of the rooms, an officer spotted a tiny piece of plastic. It was a mobile SIM card, snapped in half by someone in a rush, but not completely destroyed. The CBI extracted the remaining data from that chip. That single phone number allowed them to map the crew's communications, identify the decentralized network, and follow the digital thread straight to Ramesh. The 10-month effort to move tons of earth and reinforce a 125-foot shaft had worked, but a millimeter of intact plastic was enough to dismantle that entire history of discipline. When the authorities finally surrounded Ramesh at a crowded bus stand, he didn't run. His defense was simple and chillingly calm. He told them he hadn't shed any blood, he just dug some dirt. That logic didn't mean much to the elderly woman sitting in the street outside the bank. Locker 47 had held her daughter's entire dowry. Decades of saving had been wiped out through a hole in the floor. A heist can easily be framed as a clean, logistical accomplishment, but beneath that coordination, innocent lives are fractured, leaving a quiet, lingering fear about what might be happening right now, deep beneath your feet.